Hey, today I want to talk to you about King David and his faith shaken. We all look at David as a man being after God's own heart. That's what the scripture says. And to me, that's one of the greatest compliments that you could be given, to have a heart after God. And David is known for slaying Goliath. And it is used in so many analogies and ministry ideas. And little children study that in their little classes about David, the little man slaying the big man, and just the faith that it took. And it's all great. And at this point in Second Samuel 6, that's where I'm at today in my scripture. I will say this, that yesterday I was driving and I randomly thought about David and his faith being shaken and him dancing before the Lord. And I was trying to remember all of those scriptures. So this morning when I sat down to do my Bible study, I had to get that out. So I got out Second Samuel 6, and it's talking about bringing the Ark of the Covenant. Now think about this. In David's life, this is after he had many promises, and he had many battles and had overcame many battles. So at this point, he is now king over Judah and Israel. There's been many things conquered. They conquered the Philistines, and now he's bringing the Ark of the Covenant to the city of David. And so there's a big celebration, and they're on their way. And all of a sudden, this man Uzzah touches the Ark of the Covenant, and God slays him. And the man dies right there. I mean, in the middle. I mean, could you imagine in having a huge celebration and many people are there, and all of a sudden a man falls over and dies? Yeah. So it says David was angry at the outburst of God, and even named that place after the outburst of God. And in my mind, I think, wow, you would just kill somebody because they touched something? And if you look at the cross reference, the word used there in that scripture is really irreverence. So this man was irreverent toward God. And God takes that very serious. So I've always wanted to have a reverence, especially in the house of God, to have a reverence for God. And here's the thing, David did have that reverence for God. And he did have faith in God. And he was a man after God's own heart. And he witnessed this. And so not only does the scripture say that he was angry at the outburst, but that it says he became afraid of God. And I just think about that, and I relate that to our life, how we have things happen. When things are going good, we've overcome a lot of battles, and we're moving, we seem to be moving forward, and it just seems like nothing can touch us. We're at that point, and then something happens. And in that, something that wasn't your fault, something that you didn't see, it caught you off guard, it comes completely out of nowhere. And it just shakes you, it rattles you. And we all have those things. And I would say that what rattles you may not seem like it would rattle me, and vice versa. There are things in my life that I battle that have shaken my faith that other people don't even recognize, probably. But I recognize the feeling David had of just battling this, not understanding, knowing that it was God that allowed it, knowing that God could have stopped it, and just so many things and feelings that he must have been going through. And so he said, I don't want the Ark of the Covenant. He said, just take it to Obed Edom's house. And he left it, and he went on to the city of David. Well, the scripture tells us that after 3 months, he recognized that Obed Edom's household was being blessed abundantly. And he could see that Obed Edom was blessed because the presence of God was with him. The ark was with him. And so he's like, he just got to a place where he didn't understand what God did. And I don't know that he was over it, or how he felt, but he knew that he had to get back. To me, it is, he had to get back into the presence of God. He had to have that presence with him. He couldn't do it anymore. He had to have the Ark of the Covenant where he was at. And so he planned to bring it to him. And the scripture tells us in 2 Samuel 6 and 13, it says that after they bearing the ark, the people, they had went 6 paces, not very far, that he sacrificed oxen and sheep, and he did a celebration right there, that it moved, and then he celebrated. And to me, it's almost like he went a little bit, and he made sure that he was going to reverence and sacrifice to God and give God all of the glory. And I don't see anywhere in here that David had done anything wrong, but I see where he is going to make extra effort to make sure that he is doing what's right. And so then this is the scripture that is kind of famous, that where David danced before the Lord, and he only had an ephod on. And this is where Saul, his wife, which was Saul's daughter, this completely like was embarrassed by him because David had carried on so great that he had just had so much emotion in it that she was just embarrassed by him. And but God honored that. God was pleased with David. And that feeling, that is what I was thinking about. That feeling of when you've questioned things or been through things and you just don't even care anymore. All you want to do is be in the presence of God. You get there and then it's just such an overwhelming joy. And I want to feel that way, that I'm just dancing before the Lord with great joy. I mean, can you just picture this dancing and laughing and the feeling that David had? And so, was David perfect? No. And it's not too much longer that he has another big sin. He is human. But he also, at the same time, God still honored him because he always had a heart after God. He always had a humbleness and a humility about him, that even when he did wrong, yep, I did wrong, because he was human, but he still had this great affection and this great relationship with God that brought him back into the presence of God. And so I just randomly turned to the 22nd chapter of Second Samuel. And interestingly enough, there's like little notes in my Bible that, has notes at the end of the chapter. And this chapter 22 just coincidentally happens to be linked to the verses that I just read to you about David dancing. And I just look at this. It's a great chapter. I encourage you to read it, the whole 22nd chapter of Second Samuel. And this is what I wish for you today. This is what I wish for me today. Um, Here's verse 29. For you are my lamp, O God. The Lord shall enlighten my darkness. For by you I can run against a troop, but by my God, I can leap over a wall. Now think about that. He's got so much excitement and so much faith in God that he's saying that he just takes away all the darkness in his life. And he says, I can run against a troop and that I can leap over a wall. So today, I wish that you would have that kind of faith and that kind of joy, that you are like David, that you feel that you can leap over a wall and that you can conquer many things because God is with you. So be blessed. See you later.